To the Brain Drain, the show which was given a mission to inform. Unfortunately, no one told us, so instead we brought together 4 students from the University of Life, failed, and they're going to introduce themselves and tell us their greatest regret. Tony.
Yes, hello, my name's Tony Hawks, and my greatest regret is that I travelled through Egypt with only 1 pair of pants.
My name is Jeremy Hardy, and my greatest regret is having the words "Je ne regrette rien" tattooed across both buttocks.
My name's Jemoine, and my biggest regret is going overseas for 4 months without returning a video I'd hired.
Hello, my name's Jo Brand, and my greatest regret is that I went on the pill when I was 16, put on 4 stone, and no one wanted to have sex with me after.
Ladies and gentlemen, the panel. Right, I've got a letter now from Mike Burwood from Essex writes, in our daily lives, we're bombarded on all sides by signs and instructions. Which ones particularly annoy you, Jeremy Hardy?
Well, as regards road signs, the M40's got to be the worst, because you get on the M40 to Birmingham from London, and you're on your way to Birmingham, and the first sign says, "No services on M40," and the next one says, "No hard shoulder on M40," and the next one says, "Bet you're really glad you had 4 cups of coffee before you left the house, aren't you?" And then there's just one that says, "Welcome to Brum, bastard."
Jemoine.
I don't know those signs when you go into a police station or a post office and it has a missing person and a photograph of that missing person, and it says, has anyone seen Robert with his photograph? I think, why didn't the photographer just grab him? It would have saved a lot of trouble, wouldn't it? Just like, click, here he is, I've got him now. Wouldn't you be going anywhere? And why is it the person in the photograph always looks lost? I mean, because, like, I really hope I don't get lost, because if I ever get lost, it'll just be a photograph of me with a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other going, "Way!"
Go.
I think the sign I hate most is the sign on the cake shop door that says "closed," probably. And I think those sort of information on food which says serving suggestion, you know, where you've got, like, a tin of corned beef and the serving suggestion is you have it with half a tomato. You know, why don't they just put it in your gob and chew it, you twat? And also, I very occasionally, I have to say, go into men's toilets. I can't explain why at the moment. But I've seen some very odd instructions in there, because above the urinals, they have a Durex machine, and on it says, "Twist knob sharply to right." Well, that's going to cause a lot of accidents with the man next to you, really, isn't it?
Tony.
Yeah, well, I agree with Jeremy about road signs and motorways. If you're driving along the motorway, you very often see a sign up with a picture of an aircraft there, and this is for low-flying aircraft. Well, surely the responsibility doesn't rest with me, the driver, to avoid low-flying aircraft. What's going on there? I can't wait. And the other one you see as well is you see this picture of this 2 old people stooping with sticks. What are you supposed to do? Speed up, put them out of their misery? It's that cool. And they can't be that debilitated anyway, this couple, because I've seen them everywhere. They're in Scotland, Wales, Bristol. The other thing, when you leave a toilet as well, on the door it says, "Now wash your hands." So I see this and I go and wash my hands. And then I go to leave and it says, "Now wash your hands." So I go and wash my hands and this goes on for hours. It's not until someone leaves the door open I can get out of the place. Too difficult.
All right, any other offers for that?
What about the other one? Sorry to come back.
That's all right. I sort of meant somebody else, but if you want to come, that's quite all right.
Sorry.
Oh, Tony.
Yes, hello. I'm a bit of a pig, aren't I? A bit of a hog. No, the other one on the doors as well, the other one you see is "This door is alarmed." Well, what do? Tiptoe past it so you don't startle it any further.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, panel, and thank you for your letter. Right, we've got a Neil Quick in our audience. Hello, Neil. Welcome. What's your question for tonight's panel?
I'm not a violent person myself, but there are some people who just seem to be asking for a punch in the face sometimes. What sort of person brings out the animal in you?
OK, Neil. Neil thinks some people deserve to have a punch in the face. Sounds like a young Conservative to me. So, Jemoine, what sort of people brings the animal out in you?
Oh, those people have stag parties, and a stag night, and they get the person that's getting married, and they do things to him. Well, they get him drunk to start with, and then they do things like take all his clothes off and beat him up and tie him to a roof of a car and leave him outside a police station. But they do this because they're his friends. I was thinking, your worst enemy could just turn up at your stag night and just go unnoticed. And just throw in a punch every now and then and go, you'll make a lovely couple.
All right. Jeremy.
Well, the people who annoy me the most are Daily Mail readers. And the reason is that they actually think the Daily Mail is a good paper. Because people who buy the Sun, they don't bother me because they know it's bollocks with tits in. But people who buy the Daily Mail actually think it's quality journalism. They say, oh, it's a very well-argued piece on the need for a military crackdown on people with freckles. These are the people that host neighbourhood watch meetings, and if you're the last one to leave, they start showing you pictures of them shaking hands with P.W. Botha, and then they start undressing and reciting the Lord's Prayer backwards and stuff. They do.
But we'll take your word for it, Jeremy. Jo.
Oliver Reed, I'd quite like to punch in the face.
Best of luck.
Best of luck. I'd have him down on the floor in seconds, mate.
Lucky old Oliver. Right. Carry on.
The reason is, actually, I remember hearing him on Desert Island Discs, and he said that as his luxury item, he'd like to take a blow-up doll. And I somehow feel even an inanimate object would have the sense not to shag him. And someone else I'd like to get my teeth into is Gary Bushell, who's the TV critic for The Sun, who's waging a campaign against me at the moment, starting off with calling me a hideous old boiler, which is very flattering, yes. And I'd just like to point out that Gary Bushell isn't exactly an oil painting himself. Maybe he is. I mean, maybe Gainsborough has painted a portrait called Constipated Warthog Licking Chili Powder off the Toilet Seat. I don't know.
Tony. Well,
there you go.
Well, we look forward to a very good review in The Sun.
People who get on my nerves. People that say, you know, which way did you come at parties? They annoy me rather a lot.
What sort of parties do you go to?
You've not had an invite, then? No. You're not moving in the right circles, baby.
Well, obviously not.
Taxi operators who say to you on the phone, it'll be with you in 2 minutes, when they haven't even located a driver, clearly. But the person I think I probably would like to punch would be Billy Joel, actually. And this because of this song he wrote, Just the Way You Are, which was a lovely love song, but he wrote it for his first wife. And then he left her when he met Christy Brinkley, this supermodel. And it had the line in it, don't go changing to try and please me. Well, he gave his wife a bit of a duff brief there, didn't he? Because what she had to do, in fact, was a fantastic amount of changing, wasn't it? So I haven't got any time for him.
All right, panel, well, thank you for those answers. Thanks for your question. Now, we have a change of scene now because it's time for our photo round. I'm going to show you a photograph. Here it is, coming up. And I'm going to ask Tony and Jeremy to tell us what is going on here, do you think?
I think, well, the one on the right might be saying, weatherman was way out again today.
And all because the doggy loves milk tray.
I think the dog is thinking, and he puts me on a lead.
Any other offers for that?
Could be an advert, say, Canada, a world of possibility.
Maybe the guy in the clothes is saying something like, the swimming pool, you're standing on it, mate. Or, gee, what a poker player.
What about the bloke on the left saying to the other one, hello, how are you then? That one. Yeah. Or,
the other guy's saying, I'm not too bad, actually.
And the dog's thinking they're lively company.
All All right, what about this one?
Elvis lives.
Or maybe, never mind the bollocks, where's me dentures?
Or I've come about the ad for a flatmate. Or do you think these glasses make me look a bit gaunt?
Can we have the bedpan back now, Mr. Stevens?
Could be Junior Showtime, Where Are They Now?
What about Deliverance ruined my acting career?
Here's a number that's been very kind to me.
I like that one.
Any more for any more?
Well, possibly the picture that's up in Cliff Richard's attic. I don't know.
All right, thank you very much. Good answers, panel. Right, we've got another letter now. We've got a letter here from Claire Ward of Ealing, and she writes, "What are animals really thinking?" Well, let's ask one. Jeremy.
I think cows are thinking, I'm bloody mad, me. And,
It's a very, very good cow there. For a minute there, I thought there was a cow in the studio. It was fantastic.
it was a cow that was so mad he thought he was Blakey from On the Buses. But rabbits are thinking, why can't we just be friends? And laboratory animals are thinking, I'm not sure about this lipstick. I think maybe I'm more of a winter person.
All right, Jemoine.
You know, like an ant finds a bag of sugar. I often think what it's thinking of then, because like for an ant to find a bag of sugar, it would be like being in a room this big full of sugar. And I just think, I wonder does it ever cross its mind not to tell the other ants about it? And just like go there every once in a while, and if you ever got caught coming out and they go, what's in the big white bag? He just goes, nothing. You hide a bag of sugar like that, you know. You get a wee dog, then you get a dog and you just bark at the dog for a laugh and you just go, rawr, rawr. See that? I often think that what the dog's thinking then, because, like, God knows what you're saying to the dog. You could be saying something like, we don't like you in this house. And do you like the colour of my underpants?
Tony.
I think slugs are thinking, this is no kind of a life. I think sheep are probably thinking, what shall we do today? Got it, eat grass. Or fish, when they're swimming where someone's fishing, I think they're thinking, I wonder what happened to Barry. And horses probably think to themselves, you know, how come when humans break their legs, they just put it in plaster? Or dogs are probably thinking, good, look at the leg on that human over there.
Joe.
I think maybe kittens are thinking, wonder what I'm doing in this sack with a brick in it.
One for the kids there.
And I think dogs are probably thinking, I'm hungry, I'm bursting for a crap, and that's about it, really.
Chickens are thinking, sage and onion, you know where you can stick that, don't you?
Very good. Thank you, panel. And thank you for your questions, Claire. Right, now a question for our audience. Is there Mrs. Rawlings here tonight? Hello, Mrs. Rawlings, and welcome to the show. What's your question for tonight's panel,
What
please?
do you miss most from your childhood?
Right. Well, some of them haven't actually left it yet, Mrs. Rawlings. Tony, let's start with you. What do you miss most from your childhood?
Well,
Tony.
when you grow up, people stop sending you money on your birthday. That's a great shame. I miss being able to go up to people and say, do you go to bed with Tony Chestnut? And when they say no, you go, yes, you do, Tony Chestnut.
That's your best gag this evening, actually, isn't it?
I missed that.
Oh, I see. Tony Chestnut.
Yes, you see.
I've just got it, sorry.
Do you go to bed with... We could try it if you like. Do you go to bed with Tony Chestnut?
No, of course I don't.
I think you do, actually.
What's that?
No, I just happen to think you do. Anyway, what about... it being excusable to get ice cream all around your mouth when you eat ice cream, or at a dinner party. It'd be nice just to be able to behave like children would do, or babies, and just be eating something like that and just go... and just drop things like that, you know. And when people hand them back to you, just drop them again. What a marvellous way of spending the day, isn't it? And breastfeeding, of course.
Ah, yes. The big one. Jemoine, what do you miss most from your childhood?
I like when you used to go to the swimming pool and you used to get really excited, but the floor wasn't really designed for being excited on. So every time you came to a corner, you had to go... And sometimes I'd fall over. I'd slip and fall over. And as I fell over, for a second, I would think I was the man on the slippery when wet sign. And I just go... whenever, like, your mum said you'd go to dry the dishes, and she'd go, leave them. They'll dry themselves. I used to always try and sneak back into the kitchen to catch, like, a plate with a tea towel in behind it.
Jeremy, what do you miss most from your childhood?
When I was a kid and I'd come back from school with a piece of gravel in the knee, a little scratch or something, my mum would say, oh, you've been in the wars. Which, apart from anything else, is a bit of an overstatement, isn't it? 'Cause, I mean, if you came home from school with one lung and a tank track across your face, dragging loads of barbed wire and writing poetry, it might have a bit of significance.
Jo?
Well, being irresponsible, I think, generally, because I remember when I was about 6 or 7, I'd seen a programme on the telly about babies being able to swim as soon as they were born. So we got the baby from next door, me and my mates, and we dropped it in a pond to see if it could swim, and of course it couldn't. So it's all right, we did get it out, it didn't drown or anything. So we had to take it back to its mum, covered in sort of weed and dead fish and that. So, but I quite like to do that nowadays, and I can't, so that annoys me. It also annoys me these days that I have to pay for my dinner, because I didn't have to when I was a child. Free dinner, lovely. And I also miss being able to get into a size 14 as well, when I was 5.
All right, well, thanks for those answers, and thanks so much for your question, Mrs. Rawlings. And now we are moving on to our celebrity question. We are thrilled and delighted to introduce a man whose songs can be heard up and down the West End every night of the week. It's amazing who you see out busking these days, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Rice. Thanks for coming on, Tim. What's your question for tonight's panel, please?
Well, I'm in a bit of a dry patch. I'd just like to know if the panel have any suggestions for plots for new musicals.
Right, well, Tim's in a bit of a dry patch. You've got lucky seat. So some free advice for Tim Rice here. Jeremy.
Well, I'd like to see a Walt Disney and Akira Kurosawa co-production called 7 Dwarfs for 7 Samurai. And I also think they've brought Joseph back, but they should have updated Joseph so that it's now in his later years, and it's Joseph and his amazing beige acrylic cardigan.
Jemoine, any ideas for plots of musicals?
Well, not really, to be quite honest, but...
All right, fair enough.
No, I'll give this... the plot is sort of like... it's a story of a hideously deformed musician who falls in love with an actress, and it's basically called the Andrew Lloyd Webber story. Just a gag, Tim, just mucking around.
Jo, any ideas for musicals?
Tim, if you use that one, like... oh, wait, just do the right thing by me and just sort me out, like...
Jo?
I'd quite like to see one where Elvis Presley comes back to life and falls in love with Gaza. And that could be called The King and YI.
Shame on you.
Fantastic, that one, wasn't it? The story of maybe of Eva Peron and her weight problem called Ray Vita.
Tony.
Well, I'd just like to congratulate Tim on the success of Joseph again. Particularly like the number Any Dream Will Do. You know, I close my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Just the one flaw in the lyrics there, Tim. Not a good idea to close your eyes if you want to see anything for certain. Because the only thing you're going to see for certain is the inside of your eyelid. I think in terms of new plots for musicals, I think it seems to be that anything is fair game, provided that you tack the words "the musical" on at the end, you know. So maybe we'll see Shite the Musical. Or perhaps one or two... one or two...
Oh, go on, sorry.
But I've actually...
We're both trying to do the same joke.
I've actually written a musical myself, which is the story about life in a Belgian bakery. And it's called The Croissants of Antwerp. And I could do a little bit of the opening number for you, if you're interested.
Well, you could, I suppose, yeah.
Welcome to the place with all the dough, where it's no surprise when the pastries rise and you realise your dream from long ago. To be working with a smile on your face, to be baking bread all over the place, to be happy in your work, baking the croissants of Antwerp.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much, panel.
Did you actually choreograph that yourself?
I did choreograph it. Did you notice the working?
The first bit that...
Yeah, I think... I always liked the photo. I think they did that right. I'll keep working my way back to you, babe. I thought that was a marvellous bit of choreography. And I incorporated it rather naturally into that.
Right, and any inspiration from those ideas, Tim?
Not a lot, I'm afraid.
No, no. I thought so. Well, thank you very much for coming in, and thank you, panel, for those answers. Right, we've got a question now from our audience. Is there a Howard Briggs here tonight? Howard, what's your question, please?
I'm going slightly bald.
Yes.
Does the panel have any advice?
Howard's deluding himself. He's going slightly bald. Sorry, Howard. No. Let's be sensitive about this. Does the panel have any advice? So any tips for bald people, or to use the correct medical term, slapheads? Please. Tony.
Yes, I think you're going to enjoy this round, Howard. I don't think you should think of yourself as having anything wrong. What's happening to you is, in fact, your hair is growing inwards and coming out on your chin. And you have to remember as well that some women are prepared to pretend that they like bald men. Which is a marvellous boon for you, But there's a few advantages as well. You, for instance, I've got a lot of hair, you probably noticed. It's marvellous it is, yes. But you've got to think of the advantage. You're more aerodynamic than me. So you'd make a much better human cannonball than I could. Or you could paint a little target on your head and give the birds practice, couldn't you?
No.
Well, I actually feel for you hard, because I've started to recede as well at the front, and you could do what I've done, which is just shave your hair off. Because then you go, like, two can play at this game. You can go, but you go now under my terms. And what I hate about it is when people walk up to you and they say things like, "You're going bald," as if it was my decision. As if I looked in the mirror one day and thought, yeah, I think having no hair at the back and just a little tuft sticking out the front, that would probably look nice in me. But I like these guys who've got the one hair and they comb it and look after it. I just keep thinking, imagine you woke up in the morning and the one hair you had was gone. You look in the mirror and you go, oh, that's it. I'm bald now.
Jeremy.
Well, my advice to you, Howard, is not to go bald, frankly. I think you're making a big mistake, because you say, well, it makes me look more virile. It actually doesn't. It makes you look like someone without any hair. But you could go around saying, do you like my flesh-coloured highlights?
Well, I think one thing you can do, you can get really fat, grow warts and not wash, and then that would take people's minds off your balding. Or the other thing is you could do is make a feature of it. You could paint the top of your head red and go in a cheese shop and pretend to be an Edam. I think that'd be quite good fun. But I have to say, bald or covered in hair, I'd give you one, mate. I think.
Thank you, panel, and thank you, Howard, for coming in. Right. OK, now a quick question from me. What would you really like to have the nerve to do? Jemoine?
I hear when you phone up Telecom and they put you on hold for about an hour playing this song that's only got 2 notes on a really crappy keyboard. And then you're going up the wall and then you get through and they're always really calm and collected. And they go, hello, can I help you? When that happens, I always like to get them back and say something like, excuse me, but I was listening to that. Put me back on hold again. If I ever get arrested again, and the policeman nearly reads you the rights and goes, you have the right to remain silent, but anything that you do say shall be taken down and used against you in a court of law, I'd like to say, stop kissing me, officer. Get your hand off my bum. I'd also like to just stand at traffic lights and just offer to clean people's windows. Except I wouldn't have a bucket or a squeegee. Just stand there and just say, do you want your windows washed? And if they say yes, just lean into the car and switch on their window wipers.
I think when the Queen was doing a walkabout, I'd like to break through the cordon and go up to her and ask her what the capital of Poland is. Just to see what she's like on capitals. Really. And I'd like to ask her as well, I'd like to ask her what you call those things that you keep the oars in boats. And then when she said rollicks, I'd say I was only asking. Hours of fun there. But I think the other thing I'd like to do is, when you're driving along, you see these signs up on the side of the road saying office space to let, you know, £14 a square foot. I think to myself, I can afford £14 and go in and buy a square foot and keep a vase in it, you know, and put it right in the middle of the office, so, and not let anyone in my square foot. You know, you go round, this is mine.
Jeremy, what would you really like to have the nerve to do?
I'd like to have the nerve to walk into a pub in Glasgow and say, evening, Jock, I'll have a wee dram. And then, when everyone turns round and is looking at me, I say, oh, yes, you're very tough when there's 30 of you and only 1 of me. And then, when somebody finally comes up and smashes a bottle and holds it up to my face, I just say, can't you see it's not really me you're angry with, it's yourself.
Yeah.
I'd like to go up to a bunch of skinheads and say, who wants a portion, you big girls' blouses? I'd like to go up to Brian Blessed and say, stop shouting! And I'd like to go into the doctors with a megaphone and stand in front of the doctor's receptionist going, I hear you've had very bad thrush lately.
Well, thank you very much, panel, for those answers. Right, well, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. But to end, by way of saying goodbye, I'm going to ask the panel now to tell us one fact each that is palpably untrue.
You'll be absolutely bowled over by our exciting new range of carpets.
Open this envelope to receive an instant cash prize.
We don't need no education.
People are impressed by meaningless anagrams of Holston pills.
Thank you very much, panel. Thank you very much for me. Good night.